Tam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitanscha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Deenabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Vishpadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimade Bhaktivedanta Swamiti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gaurvani Pracharane Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatyaristarane Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udirayet Shri Prabhupada Ki Jai. So, Hare Krishna, everybody. I will start. It's verse number 8. Everybody's okay? All right. Prakrutim swamavashtabhya visrujami punah punah bhutagramam imam kritsnam avasham prakrutir vashat. Prakrutim swamavashtabhya visrujami punah punah bhutagramam imam kritsnam avasham prakrutir vashat. Prakrutim samavashtabhya visrujami punah punah bhutagramam imam kritsnam avasham prakrutir vashat. Please continue if you would like to recite.
Prakritim swamavashtabhya visruchami puna puna bhutagramam imam krishnam avasham prakrutir vashat.
Prakritim swamavastabhya visrajami puna puna bodhagramam imam krishnam avasam prakratir vasad.
So here is the word-to-word translation. Prakrutim, the material nature. Swam, of my personal self. Avashtabhya, entering into. Visrujami, I create. Puna puna, again and again. Bhutagramam, all the cosmic manifestations. Imam, these. Kritsnam, in total. Avasham, automatically. Prakrute, of the force of nature. Vashat, under obligation. Translation by His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada. The whole cosmic order is under me. Under my will, it is automatically manifested again and again. And under my will, it is annihilated at the end. So kindly read a couple of devotees the translation, please.
The whole cosmic order is under me. Under my will, it is automatically manifested again and again. And under my will, it is annihilated at the end.
Thank you.
The whole cosmic order is under me. Under my will, it is automatically manifested again and again. And under my will, it is annihilated at the end.
Yeah, thank you. The purport. This material world is the manifestation of the inferior energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This has already been explained several times. At the creation, the material energy is let loose as the Mat Tattva, into which the Lord, as his first Purusha incarnation, Mahavishnu, enters. He lies within the causal ocean and breathes out innumerable universes. And into each universe, the Lord again enters as Garbhodakashayi Vishnu. Each universe is in this way created. He still further manifests himself as Shirodakashayi Vishnu, and that Vishnu enters into everything, even into the minute atom. This fact is explained here. He enters into everything. Now, as far as living entities are concerned, they are impregnated into this material nature. And as a result of their past deeds, they take different positions. Thus, the activities of this material world begin. The activities of the different species of living beings are begin from the very moment of the creation. It is not that all is evolved. The different species of life are created immediately along with the universe. Men, animals, beasts, birds, everything is simultaneously created. Because whatever desires the living entities had at the last annihilation are again manifested. It is clearly indicated here by the word avasham that the living entities have nothing to do with this process. The state of being in their past life, in the past creation, it's simply manifested again. And all this is done simply by his will. This is the inconceivable potency of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And after creating different species of life, he has no connection with them. The creation takes place to accommodate the inclinations of various living entities. And so the Lord does not become involved with it. So is the worst Prakrutim Swamashtabhyam, like I enter into the cosmic, by my potency, into the material nature, Puna, again and again, and Bhutagramam, all the entire cosmic manifestations thus manifested, Kritsnam in total. And this happens automatically, as if under obligation, it's automatically produced. And then by my will again, at the end, it is destroyed or annihilated. So the Lord in this chapter itself, in the beginning, from verses 4 to 10, this whole section is called by the theme that what is the relationship of Krishna and material nature. So the section from verses 4 to 10 in this chapter, they speak about the Lord being in relationship to this material world, and in what way he's related, that is mentioned. So he pervades, creates, and annihilates the entire cosmic manifestation through his material energy. That's been said by Srila Prabhupada in the first line of the purport. And although Krishna is the supreme director of everything, he's not doing it by himself. He's doing it through the agency of his material nature. And he's doing it just by simply willing, by desiring to do it. And that is enough for everything else to get moving automatically through the material nature. So he, the Supreme Lord of everything, but he is independent, and thus he remains detached. So that's the kind of theme we have. And as you remember, Bhagavad Gita has 5 topics. Out of that, the first one is Ishvara, Jiva, Prakriti, which is material nature, Kala, time, and Karma, activities of the living entities. So in this way, Ishvara and Prakriti, they both are interconnected, or the Supreme Lord and the material nature, material existence are interconnected. And how they are interconnected is explained in this part of the Gita. If you remember also, this topic has been explained by the Lord in the 7th chapter and also partly in the 8th chapter. So if I would like to refer to one verse here. One second, I'm gonna go here and then share. So if you see in the 7th chapter, verses 4 to 7, they speak about the same thing, and also actually chapter 12th verse. So Krishna has mentioned that by my material energy is made up of these elements: earth, air, ether, water, fire. Maybe I should keep my other book open. Very hard turning the pages. And he explains that other than that, I have there's another energy of mine which is superior, and then all the created beings are holding both of these energies. And then he says that I am above everything. Everything emanates from me. And then in the 12th verse, he says that everything is manifested by my energy. In one sense, I'm everything, but I'm also independent. I'm not under the modes of nature, for they are within me. So in this way, he explains partly the same process of his relationship with the material nature. And if you see in the 8th chapter, again, verses 18 and 19. I'll briefly refer to these verses also. He says, at the beginning of Brahma's day, everything, all the living entities manifest. And then at the end of Brahma's day, everything is annihilated. And he says again and again, I want to refer to that verse. Yeah. So that verse is, Bhutagrama sa evayam bhutva bhutva praliyate. Ratragame avasha partha prabhavati ahar agame. So the meaning is that again and again, all the living entities come into being, and at the end, they are helplessly annihilated. So if you see, there are similar words, pretty similar words, Bhutagramaha, Bhutva Bhutva Praliyate. And then it says, Ratri Agame, Avasha Partha Prabhavati Aha Agame. So again, they are annihilated at the end of the day. So it's pretty similar. So if we go back to our verse now. Okay, so in this verse, you see, Srila Prabhupada mentions in the purport that this is at the very end, like last 2 lines of the purport, this is the inconceivable potency of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And this is called Aishwarya Jnana by our Acharyas. And the Aishwarya Jnana is inconceivable potency or opulence, or it can be said that inconceivable opulent potency of the Lord to create the material nature, and through this agency of material nature, send all the living entities into this material world, into different forms, based upon their past desires. And it's interesting that Srila Prabhupada points that this everything takes place at the same time. Because as we know, Srila Prabhupada in the first paragraph of the purport gives a very elaborate description about how this cosmic nature is manifested again and again. And the description of the three Mahavishnus under the agency of these three Mahavishnus, how the material cosmos is manifested again and again, is described in the first paragraph of the purport. So if you see again in the 7th chapter, 4th verse, which I just now referred to, Srila Prabhupada gives the actual verse from Satvata Tantra, which is actually the translation here that's given in the purport just now that we are looking at. So if you refer to verse 4 from the 7th chapter, Srila Prabhupada, he's giving this verse. So this is a very solid reference from the Shastra about the expansion of three Mahavishnus, or three Purushavatars, you can say not Mahavishnus, but three Purushavatars, who take care of the entire process of material manifestation through the opulent potency of the Lord, the material nature or the material energy. So the verse is like Vishnu's tu tri nirupani Purushakhyani atho viduhu ekam tu mahata srashtar dvitiyam tu anda samsthitam trutiyam sarvabhutastham tani jnatva vimuchyati. And the translation is exactly the same as what we are referring to in our purport right now. For material creation, Lord Krishna's plenary expansion assumes three Vishnus. The first one, Mahavishnu, creates the total material energy known as Mahatattva. The second, Garbhodakashayi Vishnu, enters into all the universes to create diversities in each of them. And then the third, Kshirodakashayi Vishnu, is diffused as the all-pervading supersoul in all the universes and is known as Paramatma. He is present even within the atoms. Anyone who knows these three Vishnus can be liberated from material entanglement. So that's the verse that was given to us by Srila Prabhupada from Satvata Tantra. And here the same thing is referred to by him in the first paragraph of the purport, that the Mahavishnu, then the Garbhodakashayi Vishnu and the Kshirodakashayi Vishnu. So this is the way under my will, under Krishna's will, it is automatically manifested again and again, right? And if you remember in the previous verse, maybe a couple of like 5th verse, I think, when we were talking about and yet everything that is created does not rest in me. So first Krishna says that in the 4th verse that by me, in my unmanifested form, the entire universe is pervaded. All the living beings are in me, but I'm not in them. And then he says a very perplexing statement that yet everything that is created does not rest in me. So then the question is, if Krishna is not a part of this universe, the material cosmic manifestation, and by the creation of material cosmic manifestation, there is no transformation in him, then how does he create? How can he create if he's not a part of that? So that's why this verse, he clarifies that in the 8th verse, that everything is happening by my potency. I am aloof, I am independent, and I don't get involved in the effects and transformations of the creation. And yet, I can be just the supreme director of everything. And only by my will everything is taking place through the agency of my material nature. So if you see, Visrujami, I create, Puna Puna. What do I create? Bhutagramam, all the cosmic manifestations, automatically. So we have experience of this. There is some amount of supervision or director level work some of us do, and we know that we don't do actually like down the level work. We don't go to the downmost level and work. We supervise, we give instructions, and then people who are working under us, they actually carry out and execute the whole work. And it happens most automatically just by phone calls, just by being present in your position, and just by supervision, instruction. So it might look like at one point it's automatic, but it's actually not automatic, because there's someone above who is taking care. And we can also see that in this today's world, there are many big corporations, and they run like every time, say we go shopping, there is a whole system behind it. We don't see that system, but obviously there are people at the highest corporate level who are actually working, and that's how everything happens very, very easily, very naturally, very automatically. And nobody can see who is actually at the top. Nobody can see. We can see only the lower level people actually working with us, but we don't see the bigger picture. So similarly, we can imagine or understand how Krishna is just the director of everything. He says that Swam Avashtabhya, Swam, my personal, my nature, my potency, my potent material nature. And it happens automatically, but under my will. So I just desire that this should happen, and this happens. This is how we can understand how this is possible. And how, even though it is inconceivable to some extent, we can understand by imagination. I remember the Brahma Samhita verse. There is a description of how Durga Devi is working under the direction of Lord Krishna. It says, Srushti Sthiti Pralaya Sadhana Shakti Reka Chaya Vayasya Bhuvanani Vidharti Durga Ichhan Rupa Apyasya Sarcheshvate Sa Govindam Adi Purusham Tamam. So all these activities of the cosmic manifestations, Srushti, Sthiti, and Pralaya, creation, annihilation, and maintenance, they are done by Durga Devi, who is known as just a chaya of Krishna. She is the shadow, the material shadow of Krishna. And Ichhanrupa Apyasya, just by his will, Durga Devi automatically operates this material universe. And so we offer obeisances to Govinda Adi Purusham Tamam. So that's another way to understand this. And Srila Prabhupada, he is making the point here about evolution, that there is a misconception that in the beginning it's only a primitive life, and then everything evolves gradually, slowly, and things are transformed. But according to the Vedic explanation, according to the Bhagavad Gita explanation of the creation of the material universe, that's not true. The reality is that when universe is created, everything begins at one point. Everything starts acting like animation. So the living entities who have unfinished desires, they get respective bodies, and the entire universe is provided with all the necessities for their living. And all the species of life, they start automatically. So that's how it's mentioned that men, animals, beasts, and birds, everything is simultaneously created, because whatever desires they have, they are given a chance to again manifest immediately. And avasham, so the living entities have nothing to do with this process, right? So let's try to understand what is vasha and what is avasha here. So avasham is automatically and vasha is under obligation. So Prakriti is not under the word under obligation is not applicable necessarily to the material nature, because material nature is Krishna's energy and Krishna is just working with it. But the word vasha is applicable to the living entities who have no control on any part of this process of cosmic manifestation. They are latent. They are not in their most active form when they are not given material bodies, and then at the beginning of the creation they are given the material bodies, and they automatically they start like an animation. They start doing their material activities and they don't have any control, but they are under vasha, or they are obliged to do that, and because it's the will of the Lord. So that's the thing. Now, if you see the other aspect, as we spoke before, that controlling, the Lord is the controller, he's the in charge of this whole creation, but he's not directly doing it, but he is doing it through his energy, through his agency, and then it appears to be automation, or appears to be like an automation. So that indicates Krishna's detachment, because he empowers material nature to act, and the material nature acts, and everything starts automatically in a cycle. In a cyclical way, the manifestation is created and annihilated, and then created and then annihilated in that way. So Krishna's detachment is there. He is not involved actually at the material nature's level, and yet he remains the creator, and in that way he is detached from anything that happens in terms of transformation in the material world. He's aloof, he is not affected, and that he has spoken in the 8th and the 7th verse already. So there are two words which may appear similar in the Bhagavad Gita. In this verse, it's the word Swama Avashtabhya. So Srila Prabhupada mentions entering into Avashtabhya, Swam of my personal self, and Prakrutim Swam Avashtabhya. So that means, as we have seen, Krishna in his Purusha expansions, Purusha avatars, Mahavishnu, Garbhodakashayi Vishnu, Kshirodakashayi Vishnu, he enters into the inferior nature through this agency of these Purusha avatars. And similar but different word, or a little bit confusing word, is in the 4th chapter and the 6th verse. I'm going to look at that. Okay, one second. I have to go to the 4th chapter. And if you see, Ajopins, it says, Ajopisan Avyatma Bhutanam Ishwaropisan Prakrutim Swamadhisthaya Sambhavami Atmamaya. Krishna says that although I am unborn and my transcendental body never deteriorates, and although I am the Lord of living entities, I still appear in every millennium in my original transcendental form. So the words here are Swamadhisthaya. And so there's these two phrases, Swamadhisthaya, and in the 8th verse that we are looking right now, the word is Swam Avashtabhya, and they're slightly different, right? So Swam Avashtabhya we already saw, like Krishna through the agency of the Purusha avatars, the Vishnus, the 3 Vishnus, he actually enters into the material nature, and through that he pervades everything. He pervades the entire cosmic manifestation. He enters into each universe, and then he enters into every atom. So that's the way that Swam Avashtabhya. But here he says Swam Adhisthaya, which means he is, Prabhupada mentions that Swam, Prakrutim, in the transcendental form, Swam, of myself, and Adhisthaya, being so situated. So, in other words, in my original transcendental form, I appear in this material world. So these are the two different ideas of Krishna's appearance in this material world. So let's try to understand them. One is called transcendence, which is, as we saw in the 4th chapter, 6th verse, Swamadhishtaya, which means he appears in his original transcendental form, with his own spiritual form, which is the original form of the spiritual world. He doesn't have to take up any form of this material world to appear. So that is called his transcendence. And the other aspect of his appearance in this material world is called immanence. So that means Swama Avashtabhya, which means he has to transform himself into the Mahavishnu, Garbhodakashayi Vishnu, Kshirodakashayi Vishnu. And that's how he pervades every creation, the entire creation. He enters into atoms, and he, under his will, the material nature starts operating. And that's how he is present in this material world through Swam Avashtabhya, or through his immanence. So there are two words, transcendence and immanence. So transcendence is the spiritual appearance in his original spiritual form, and immanence is his appearance through the agency of the material world, or material nature, or Prakriti. So in this way, this whole topic of creation of the universes is very well explained in these verses of the Gita. Right now, in the 9th chapter from verses 4 to 10, and we can also refer back to chapter 8, verses 18, 19, and we can go back to chapter 7, verses 4 to 7. And in that way, we can really connect and understand how these verses are repeated in some aspects. At the same time, they are covering every aspect of the Lord's creation, the creative process. So for us, one lesson, I mean, in addition to the knowledge that we have got about this creation process, is that the lesson in the detachment part. So just now, as we spoke as Krishna, he says that I am doing everything, but I'm not attached to anything. I'm not attached to the minute details. I'm not affected by the modes of nature, because I'm the Swami, I'm the controller of the modes of nature. And I'm still independent. I'm still more than this whole creation, even though this creation comes from me and I am in one sense pervading this creation, but still I am above and I'm independent of everything. Because why is it so? Because I'm detached. And for us to try to bring this aspect into our personal lives and connect this verse to our personal lives, we could understand that we work in this world, we work in our lives with so many things, with our families, with our children, we earn money, we have services, but how can we bring the similar aspect of detachment when we are working? And we create with our own energy, like there's life, we do so many things. So in one sense, we are using our energy and we are creating things, we are building things, we are making things happen. But if we remember that Krishna, how he demonstrates the detachment, and I would like also to be, I would like to maintain the same mood of detachment, then for us it will be possible to do everything as we need to do, and then still be detached from the results. And that way we can remember how Krishna is untouched by the effects. We can also remain untouched by the ups and downs of the results of our work. Another thing is that knowing this entire process of material creation and knowing how Krishna's inconceivable potency is operating very subtly without even knowing by hundreds and thousands of people for millions of years, even if they go on, nobody will know even a smallest part of the creation process because of the inconceivable nature of the Lord. So this also can bring a lesson for us in terms of becoming humble, being sober, and not claiming even a fraction of the creation under our names, which people tend to do for their different motives, political motives, scientific motives. There could be so many different ideas that people carry and they want to impose upon the world. But knowing Bhagavad Gita, knowing the creation process, knowing Krishna's inconceivable potency, we can become very humble, and we can understand the inconceivable nature of this divine Supreme Lord. And in that way, it can not only humble us, but it can also benefit us, because knowing the process, we can also gradually understand the process for liberation from this material energy, material existence. And in that way, we can really benefit from these studies. So this is my small, humble presentation. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Granth Raj Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai. If you have any discussion to do, any further points that I didn't mention, or you want to expand on any of the points, you're most welcome to do that.
Thank you so much for the wonderful class.
I think everybody knows the verse pretty well, so not much to discuss, I guess, yeah, because we have been talking about these verses.
Still,
Seventh, eighth chapter.
yeah. Well, it's good to have some discussions and some questions and reflections and realizations. Devotees, please go ahead, and if you have anything to add, we can have some discussion as well. Good to have discussion so that whatever we discussed or whatever Mataji is revealed, that can be go more deep into the heart. Anybody has anything to add?
Srila Prabhupada gives a very good example of understanding how we are bound, just like it says, Varsha, we are obligated as living entities, we have no control. But we feel that we have a lot of control and we have a lot of freedom, right? So Prabhupada gives the example of the dog on the leash, that the dog can go and do all kinds of activities, but as soon as the owner pulls the leash, the dog has to come back and just surrender to the owner. So similarly, we may feel that we have many controls and we can make so many changes in this world, but people could only remember the unseen leash of the Lord in terms of this material existence, then we can immediately realize our role. So I just remembered that example.
There is a chat here. It's
Oh,
mentioned
chat is
that
there. Oh, okay. Let's see what is that. Yeah, so the knowing part is true, and the application part is where we need more realizations. But unless we apply, how can we realize? Right? So application part, we need help, but as you said, if we don't start somewhere applying, then how can we realize? So the question that someone, Mataji, Janaki Mataji has put is that, yeah, the knowledge is easy to perceive, but how do we apply that in life? And we need more realizations for that. But I'm saying you start applying and then you get realizations, right? So this is the whole purpose of this study of Bhagavad Gita, where we start using the knowledge that we gain, the knowledge about Ishvara, the knowledge about jivas like you and me, knowledge about time and karma and this material nature, the nature of this material world. So all this knowledge we have to start using when we take decisions about our lives, when we have make choices about our lives, when we decide what path we want to go, what kind of recreation we want, what kind of life partners we want. In every walk of life, when we take these decisions or when we move on in the life, then we begin using the knowledge. And one of the definitions, or not definition, but the criteria under surrender, like what do you mean by surrender to God? One of the items under that is that you go as per the will of the Lord. So make your interests and your aspirations and your ambitions in line with the scriptural words of the Lord. So if Krishna is explained in the Gita, then make our interests and our inclinations and our ambitions in line with the scripture. And that's the application part. And once we start doing that, then all of us can vouch that realizations will come. Every verse of the Gita becomes an experience for us, knowing that what Krishna has said is actually true. You can actually experience it in your life. So I think you can speak for yourself, maybe not in the group, but otherwise, or you can speak yourself as to how long have you tried this, because you have been studying the Gita for a while. So I'm sure you remember some of these verses in your real life decision makings and everything. And I'm sure if you look back, you will see that you have some realizations already, and you just have to keep doing it, keep continuing. Is that all right?
Thank you, Mataji. Yes.
And if we don't do that, if you don't apply our lessons, then there's no point in becoming students of the Gita. It's not a theory. It has to be practical, just like Arjuna demonstrated the practice. And he learned everything. And then at the end, he said, whatever you say, Lord Keshava, I 100% agree and I'm ready to do it. Yanmam vadasi Keshava. Sarvametad rutam manya yanmam vadasi Keshava. Whatever you say is true, I agree 100%. I'll do as you said. And then at the end of the Gita, he says that I'll do exactly what you're saying. So like that, we have to do it. Otherwise, it's not a theory. Anyone else? So please go through this purport of verse 4 from chapter 7, which gives this beautiful Sanskrit shloka from Satvata Tantra about the expansion of the Lord into 3 Vishnus. It's a good one to remember when you're doing a preaching work or when you're trying to explain something. It's a very solid reference about these 3 Vishnus, Mahavishnu, Purusharavatar expansions and how things happen. It's a very compact verse. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 lines, but it explains the whole process of creation. So I think it's a good idea to at least look at that verse and remember the reference Satvita Tantra. I think it's also, I think it's coming from Narad Pancharatra. So I hope it helps everybody in some way. Solid, Prabhuji?
Yeah, that's fine. I just also wanted to share one thing.
Sure.
I think the one verse is yes, so you can see this one. This is from the Srimad Bhagavatam, second canto, 10th chapter, and 37 to 40th verse. When I read through, it's quite impressed, and way Gurudev Goswami explaining to Parishit Maharaj about the creations. It says here, O king, know from me that all living entities are created by the Supreme Lord according to their past deeds. This includes Brahma and his sons like Daksha, periodical heads like Vayasudha Manu, the demigod like Indra, Chandra, and Varuna, the great sages like Bhrigu, Vyasa and Vasishta, the inhabitants of Putraloka and Siddhaloka, the Charanas, Gandharvas, Vidyadharas, Asuras, Yakshas, Kinnaras and angels, the serpent ants, the monkey-shaped Kimpurushas, the human beings, the inhabitants of Matraloka, the demons, the Pishachas, the ghosts, the spirits, lunatics and evil spirits, the good and evil stars, the goblins, the animals in the forest, the birds, the household animals, the reptiles, the mountains, moving and standing living entities, the living entities born from embryos, from eggs, from perspiration, and from seeds, all others, whether they be in the water, land, or sky, in happiness, in distress, or in mixed happiness and distress, all of them, according to their past deeds, are created by the Supreme Lord. It was quite impressive, the various living entities mentioned here in Srimad Bhagavatam. Sometimes we say that this is all, just, who knows whether they are there or not. It's very, very nicely, mentions that everything is created by the Lord and under His directions. Yeah. Thank you.
All right.
If there is nothing else, then let's conclude.
Right.
Tomorrow is Ekadashi. Prashpu is here, I think starting 5 o'clock, right, Paji? Yeah.
Yes,
Ekadashi
we're going to start the kirtan at 5 to 7
humble request, everybody
before
please
our
join.
Bhagavad Gita class.
Yeah, so we'll have a Bhagavad Gita class at 7 o'clock and chanting, and we depends on, we'll have Narasima prayer and chanting a little bit at the class, and we humbly request everybody please join. And Friday we will have our New Year's Eve program on online Zoom, starting at 8 o'clock, and will be at 11 p.m. till 11 p.m. and then we'll have the darshan of the Sri Radha Gokulananda on Zoom. Everybody please join by 8, and we'll have some wonderful kirtan and some kahoot and some quiz competitions and some involvements, so that everybody Like yesterday, Surabhi was mentioning that we can start with the Krishna consciousness and end the year with the Krishna consciousness. Our day can be start with the Krishna consciousness, it can be end with the Krishna consciousness. This way, our days and year is concluded with that consciousness, so that we can start a new chapter, 2020. So request everybody please join. Also on Saturday morning, January 1st, we'll have the Zoom section for chanting. So devotees can join by 5. They can chant as much as it will be open till 10 a.m. And it's not limited there, but at least just for the sake of, devotees can come together and they can continue their chanting. Some took a vow of chanting 64 rounds, some took a vow of 32 rounds, 16 rounds, at least whatever we can do, so that we can begin our new year, whatever new year, that chanting of holy name, so that can be conscious of the Lord. And then throughout that we can continue with the mercy of the Lord. Please join as well. And Sunday evening program probably will have hybrid. We'll have altar will be open, and some devotees, we'll send the details out, and then also there'll be a class on the Zoom online. We are trying to avoid the close contacts at the temple, so devotees can come and take question and then join on the Zoom. This way, reduce the risk of, COVID. Yes, let's also pray. There are few devotees, already affected by the COVID, and so let's also pray for them. And as we did, the chanting and the Narasimha mantra. Let's also continue the same today. So I'm hearing that few more devotees are getting affected. So let's take this moment to pray to the Supreme Lord by chanting the holy name and Narasimha mantra, that whoever is actually suffering and that get well soon by the mercy of the Lord and without much difficulties and perfect them. So let's pray with the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram,
Hare
Ram
Rama,
Ram,
Rama
Hare
Rama,
Hare.
Hare
Hare Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna,
Hare
Hare Hare,
Hare
Hare
Ram,
Ram,
Ram
Hare Ram, Ram
Rama
Ram,
Rama,
Hare
Hare
Hare.
Hare,
Hare
Hare
Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Ram,
Ram,
Hare
Hare
Ram,
Ram,
Ram
Hare
Ram,
Rama,
Hare
Hare
Hare.
Rama
Rama,
Rama,
Hare
Hare
Hare.
Hare.
Om Ugram Veeryam Mahavishnu Jalantam Vastovadomukam Narasimham Vishanam Bhadram Martyam Martyamamiham.
Mamyam.
Shri Narasimha, Jai Narasimha, Jai Jai Narasimha. Prahaladesha, Jai Padma, Buddha Padma. Shri Narasimhadev Bhagavan.
की
Jai.
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 जय
So
Jai.
wish everybody is safe and healthy. Happy New Year.
Be safe.
Happy New Year.
Make sure that you always, try to avoid the risk of close contacts and wash the hands and wear the mask. I heard that yesterday itself, just in the US, there are 4.5 lakhs of cases just one day. Just within a day, 4.5 lakhs. That means almost 500,000. So yeah, please take care and let's conclude. Panchakalpatarupasya.
Patidanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavibhyo Namo Namaha. Jai. Srila Prabhupada.
Jai.
Lord Premanandi.
Hari 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 Bol. Hare Krishna. Thank you everybody.
Thank you,
Hare
Mother.
Krishna.
Thank you everyone.
Hari Bol.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna.